Hi, this is A. Wesley. That ain't even tested like a TIS. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe. The topic I want to talk to you today about is Eboni Williams podcast holding court. She has a podcast, and she had said that she had did the podcast ever since last year, but people are just finding out about it this year, and she did a response to what Romona Singer did with Carlos King, and like I said in the last video, it's about this was happened about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. So I'm just finally getting around to it. I had so much going on and everything. But it started off with Ebony saying that she really didn't want to come on to this. She said she had moved on, and she was talking to a friend who's helped her with the podcast. I can't remember his name right now, but I'll probably say it later on in the podcast and later on in the video. But anyway, she was telling him. She said, you know, when I found out about they were breaking up the show, they were going to have a reboot. They were going to have a reboot and legacy. So she said, well, I better. She said, well. Maybe I better pivot and find other stuff to do. And she said I was not going to come out and address this. She said I had already talked to you about it, and we had already said, well, we had already said there was nothing more to be said about it. And she said I wasn't even going to talk about it until Romona Singer came out and talked about it. And stuff like that, and she was saying that wasn't the first time that Romona Singer had problems with race and with black folks and other stuff. She said I'd heard stuff. She said I'd heard stuff. Previously, but she said, but I wasn't going to bring it up because it had nothing to do with me. It didn't affect me. She said, but what it was, Romona Singer was talking about. She said she was talking about how I tested with Luann. She said I did test with Luann. She said I tested several other people and stuff. She said, but I also tested with Romona, and she was saying Romona said that I brought up Ramona said that I brought up politics a lot. She said, no, I didn't. She said, with all the stuff that was going on, well, with the George Floyd situation and with the George Floyd situation and all that kind of stuff. Back then that was kind of a hot time. She said, because they asked me to come on, right before everything happened, and we were going through a pandemic and all that kind of stuff, and all that kind of stuff, and stuff was going on. So yeah, I did mention to the ladies, and I did ask the ladies because it was around the time of voting, and I did ask the ladies about voting and stuff like that. She said, but I really just didn't bring up politics, and she was saying, Ramona said that she didn't want to bring up no politics. She didn't want to tell people who she was voting for. She didn't have to tell people who she was voting for. I just asked people where they're going to vote. And so and so let me pause this right quick. Get some water. I'm back, and then like I said a few minutes ago, that Emily said that after she found out that they were breaking up the show, and she had to kind of pivot. So she says now she that's when she started the podcast, and then right after that she got her show on the Griot. I think she said it comes on Monday nights at 6 o'clock on the Griot channel, and she's also writing a book. She's already writing a book. I think the title of the book is called "Better on Black." But anyway, she said, Dustin, I kind of left the Real Housewives of New York and everything behind. She said, but I was so surprised when Andy invited me to BravoCon. He said, yeah, because you called it. She said, yeah, I didn't want to go to BravoCon by myself, so I invited one of my girlfriends. But when I emailed her, she said she would get back to me and stuff. And so by the time she got back to me, it was too late because I had already asked you to go because I didn't want to go by myself. Dustin, he said, yeah. And he said, yeah, because you said, yeah, because you showed me a dress that you might be wearing and you might be going BravoCon. And when you mentioned it to me, I say, oh yeah, you shouldn't go by yourself. I'm going with you. So she said that's why I was so surprised that they asked me to come to BravoCon. And she was saying, and she was saying that's why I was surprised that Ramona got on Carlos King's show and said what she said. And then Dustin said, yeah, because she was all up in your face trying to hug you and congratulate you. He said, yeah. She said, yeah, yeah. I was kind of wondering what was going on. And so, and so she said that's why. She said that's why I had. She said that's why I had to come and do this, Dustin. To come and do this impromptu podcast. You know, we was gonna start our podcast back anyway later on. Later on, she said, but she said now I had to go ahead on and do this impromptu one because I had to clear my name. And she said that's the only one I'm doing. I had to clear my name because I don't want nobody thinking you know that I'm starting problems and I hard to you know yeah I gotta clear my name. I gotta clear my name. And he said yeah that's right you do have to clear your name. And she was saying Ramona brought up she lost money. We all lost money and stuff, and instead of them trying to work with me, and I'm a friend of, and I'm only making a couple of thousand something dollars while they making millions of dollars. While you was unwilling to work with me and stuff like that. And she was saying, yeah, Ramona brought up about I kept bringing up politics and stuff. She said I only brought up politics one time. Like I said, I only talked about them, who, what they're gonna vote in the election. That's all I said. I wasn't talking about politics the whole show. She said if I would be talking about politics the whole show, I wouldn't be talking about abortion rights. I wouldn't be talking about the abortion rights. I also would have been talking about voter suppression, all kinds of stuff like that. I was not talking about that like those kind of topics on housewives. I just mentioned about the part of voting, and she was saying yeah, and she also mentioned about Luann kicking me out of her house in Aspen. She said she did kick me out of the house in Aspen, and she said she was wrong when she said I was talking about politics. I didn't talk about I wasn't talking about politics when we went to Aspen. They were saying that they didn't want to talk about no politics. They wanted to have a good time, and I also wanted to have a good time. But then some kind of way I mentioned something, and then they got all said that Luann kicked me out. She said, and she said that was the first time. She said, but they didn't know I was documenting stuff. I keep records. That was the first time that they had did me bad, including Ramona. And then she went and called HR. When she talking about I called her, she called on me first and stuff. And she said she went and called on HR, and then she said like Ramona said in her thing when she talked to HR told her she needs to handle it, and she was saying HR wanted us to work out things, and she said I was willing to work out things with them. She said, but it's like they didn't want to work out things with me. And she was saying, as far as me going to HR on her, she said it was another person who had a lawsuit against Ramona and way before I got there, and also it was like two suits that were going on at the same time. And she was saying then I was she said then I was working. And she said then I was working, and then I was talking to a senior producer, and I was saying, well maybe he could tell me what's going on with my case and thing with Romona, and she was saying that. They were saying that why can't I talk to another producer, which was a white producer? I felt that black producer could tell me the same thing the other producer was telling me. And then Eboni also said that it was one of the senior producers who had told her that when she left the Aspen trip, that somebody said that Ramona said that's why they shouldn't have black women on the show. And Eboni said, oh, she said that. She said, I don't know, I wasn't there. They said, oh, it was after you said that. And she said it was another producer came up to her and told her that she empathized and sympathized with Eboni because she know how it feels for people to say negative things about a certain community or a certain race. And Eboni said that person was Italian. And so I'm looking at these people trying to put everything on Eboni, but I think these people they brought like Eboni had been saying in lots of other interviews, and that's what Ramona said too. She was tired of Eboni going around talking about the stuff and different interviews she wasn't supposed to. And so Emily said, yeah, that's why she had let it go. And she wouldn't talk about that because she says there's a clause in the law that's called open the door. And she was saying both of them was not supposed to come out and say anything about it. She said, but what happened, Ramona opened the door when she got on Carlos King's thing. So what it was, by her opening the door, that gave Ebony enough room to do her response because Ramona the one opened the door. And like I said, they was mad because they were dealing with a smart, intelligent black woman who not only knew the law, but she also knew employment law. And that's why I had to get on my Twitter and talk to a certain amount of people. And every time I was saying, yeah, I said, y'all must be forgetting about employment law. Y'all need to go and read y'all books. It's just that these people just want to blame everybody for everything. And like she said, she liked the interview with Carlos King and things like that, but she said she thought Carlos King she's a good friend of his, but she thought on some points that he was deflating the issues, and I think so too. He feel like he was kind of trying to tiptoe around Ramona to be politically correct, so things wouldn't go bad for him. But he wasn't holding what you call feet to the fire, like he normally do on his podcast. Back to what Ebony was saying, and she was saying Ramona was talking about they lost money. She lost money too, but like she said, she had to pivot and stuff like that. And she said for her closing remarks, she'll just tell Ramona that she need to find another job or go back to work. She said that's what she had to do. She had to go back to work. But like I said, people are trying to blame Ebony and stuff like that. But like Ebony said, it was other cases going on, and then like she said, one or two of the producers said what she said, and she said, "Oh no, if Ebony said that, if Ramona said that about me and stuff like that." And Ebony said she did go to what you call, and she was saying Ramona had said that she lied on her in the case, and the case was unconfirmed. Ramona said, Ebony said, yeah, the case was inconclusive because of the witnesses. She said didn't nobody want to testify. I knew didn't nobody want to testify, and she said she had got over it, and she had left, and she had moved on. And then she said when the cast member Heather got on page 6 and said that she was actually there, and Ramona did say that about Ebony, and Ebony said that's when she came back and filed a lawsuit. It wasn't just like she ran out and filed a lawsuit earlier, and then she was saying that HR told her when she kept asking about the case and what was going on. Said HR told her there was only one person, for that girl Heather from page 6, which was a cast member on the show at the time. That was only just one person. They need a little bit more than that. And so she said she just left it alone until Ebony Ebony said she left it alone until Ramona got on Carlos King's show. And so Ebony said she's glad that she cleared up her name. I'm glad Ebony cleared up her name. And there's still some people still trying to talk about Ebony, and then some people talk about they're not gonna watch the show. One thing I did like what Ebony said. Ebony said that those producers and people on Bravo was thinking about changing the show anyway, and she was saying sometimes you might not be involved in the change, but you know that a change happened. And and that's what she meant, and I think that's the main reason why they invited her to Bravo Con, because they wanted her to let her know whatever she did make the change that they wanted to make anyway. This is A. Wesley. That ain't even tells it like a T.I. is. I am out.